We just got off the ferry and we're on Mackinac Island. First time ever for us. So first order of the day is to see about a carriage ride. We booked our tour with Mackinac Island Carriage Tours. To get to them from the Shepler's Ferry dock, we walked straight out to Main Street, turned right on Main, walked a short ways down the street until we saw Horn's Bar and Restaurant on the opposite side of Main Street, and found the Mackinac Island Carriage Tour ticket booth just to the right of Horn's Bar. We also found out that you get on the carriages right in front of Horn's Bar. There's our ride.
How's everyone doing today? Good to hear, good to hear. Wow, everyone get out of my way. Coming through. Anyways, as Joe mentioned, my name is Jamie. I'll be driving these guys, giving you your tour. But that is plenty about me already. I think it's time we talk about the real stars of the show here. These two big, beautiful butts in front of me. On the left, we have Cusco. Can everyone say hi, Cusco?
Hi, Cusco.
And on the right, we have Crunk. Can everyone say hi, Crunk? It is always important we say hello to our horses because we all know they love a little hay. Come on, boys. Good job. Of Father Marquette. However, it was dedicated close to 200 years after he was actually here on the island. In case you guys didn't know, back in the 1600s, iPhones, let alone cameras, did not quite exist yet. We never had any really good reference photos of Marquette, so we do have reason to believe the artist just took a look in the mirror, smacked a beard on it, and said, "It's not me, I don't have a beard." Marquette Park served as guard and barnyard for troops garrisoned way up there at Fort Mac. Now this is always a tricky turn for our friends. The transition from a steep uphill directly downhill is never easy. But they did such a good job. Let's give them a round of applause.
Yay!
Go, go, Crunk. They always do a great job. To the right there, Mackinac Island Post Office. The post office does not actually deliver mail. That's right, the residents here must pick up their own mail. And there is a saying here on the island, it goes, rain, snow, clear or hail, please pick up your own darn mail. We do have horse-drawn UPS package deliveries, so your packages will be delivered to your door via horse and tray. Come on, boys. Next to the right here, we have the courthouse and police station. Behind those big bay doors holds one of Mackinac Island's deepest and darkest secrets. Motorized vehicles. Yeah. We do have emergency and maintenance vehicles here on the island, all that have been permitted by City Council. We have anywhere from 6 to 8 police officers that stay here all year with more state police on duty during our busy summer months. We also have a fire department. It is volunteer. Next to the right, the Benjamin Blacksmith Shop. They do live metalworking demonstrations. Built that cute little fence out front. And then right next door, we have the Agatha and Edward Biddle House. Said to be one of the oldest residences here, parts of the house dating all the way back to 1780. Wow. Agatha and Edward put a huge down payment of $100 down on this house. Which back in the 1830s, that's actually pretty expensive. It took them about a year to pay that off. Sorry to look at my phone for a second. Someone from Picket Office texted me. I need to make sure they it wasn't important. Yeah. Next to our right, we have the Mackinac Island Medical Center. We have one doctor, a full staff of nurses, and behind that bay door, we do have an ambulance. Because as much as we love our... Oh, it's a lawn chair, buddy. As much as we love our friends Cusco and Crunk, they don't go very fast. You do not want to have to rely on them as your mode of transport when it comes to life or death, and you especially don't want mouth-to-mouth from them. And find the office right behind it. That is for our town crier, which is also my nickname. I'm very emotional. It is one of the cheaper souvenirs you're going to get here on the island for just $2. Besides the thing on the bottom of your shoe, y'all may keep that free of charge. We don't want it back. It's our local newspaper. They publish once a month in the winter and once a week in the summer. Oh, boys. Focus on this turn for a quick second here. These boys love to curb check me. Absolutely stunning. Now, Cusco and Crown Care are actually a new team with us this year. I've had the honor of getting to drive them, and I love them so much. I'm going to take them home with me. Yeah. They go pretty fast, too, for some of our tour horses. I mean, it's towards the end of the day, and now they're kind of like, ooh, this again, but I think this is our last run of the day. So they're going to get pretty excited. To the right is Chambers Livery Stable. It is the oldest livery stable on the island. The Chambers family have been housing horses through Mackinac Island carriage stores for about 5 generations. Our taxi is to house out of this stable, however, we've since outgrown that by about 5 times the size. We are currently on Cadon Avenue, and it's affectionately known as Lilac Lane. He's trying to get a little snack. I can't let you, buddy. It'll give you tummy troubles, man. So you guys, I'm sure you can see why it's called Lilac Lane. All of our lilacs are blooming. They should be at their peak in about 5 days. We have the highest concentration of lilacs than anywhere else in the country, with about 68 different varieties and 18 different colors. But it is also why we do appreciate the lilacs here on Mackinac. Not only are they super pretty, but it is the one time a year the island doesn't smell 100% like digested hay. To the left there, y'all are going to see that statue of Stack Turtle. That is to symbolize the original name for Mackinac Island, which was Mishela Mackinac, which quite literally translates to Land of the Great Turtle. We do have tons of turtle symbolism all over the island, whether it be in our business names or even on merchandise. Turtles are kind of our thing. However, we don't have any real turtles, and that is something I do like to call false advertising. To the right there is a little stone church. It's little, it's stone, and it's a church. And it was built in 1904 out of limestone quarries right here on the island. The stained glass windows were brought into New York City, courtesy of Tiffany & Co., and they depict the early missionary work of the French with the Native Americans. Another thing I've noticed, there is a small layer of plexiglass over those stained glass windows. That is because not only is this area a huge wind tunnel in our winter months, experiencing hail or wind, we also have that plexiglass in place because someone decided to build a golf course next to it. Those windows are said to be valued at over $1 million. And to the left in the distance, y'all should be able to see the Mackinac Bridge, aka the Mighty Mac, largest suspension bridge in the Western Hemisphere. See that big, beautiful white house. Yeah, that is me, Cusco, and Crunk's house. We'll be hosting brunch tomorrow at 11:30. We're excited. I'm just kidding. We're just broke college students at the Governor's Summer Residence. There's absolutely no way you can miss it. It is jaw-droppingly gorgeous. It is the one, the only, the beautiful, the world-renowned statue of a pineapple. That is the international symbol of hospitality. And it's what you all came here to see, right, guys? The pineapple statue. Yeah, all right, tour's over. I'm just kidding. There is also the Grand Hotel. Now, does anyone know or have any guess on how long it took to build the original structure of the Grand?
90 days. Oh, I didn't read that.
20 years, it was less.
20 years. And
Any other guesses?
4.
Less than 4.
2.
Less than 2.
1.
It was less than 1. It was less than 6 months. It took just 93 days. It did include that 660-foot lakefront porch, only about 180 rooms at the time, the banquet hall, and the ballroom. And I know what you guys are thinking. How? 93 days. How did they do it? And you know, for starters, back in 1887, labor laws did not quite exist yet. There was a large staff of 600 people with at least 300 people working on it at any given time. And there was a big motivator involved, that motivator being money. The story goes, they did kind of put the carriage in front of the horse. They started taking reservations for the Grand before construction had even started yet. By some reservations, I mean they booked out the entire thing. So they were kind of in a time crunch. The bosses go to the workers and say, if you guys can get this done in 90 days, we're going to receive a $1 million bonus split. Now, back in 1887, that is a ton of money. It's equivalent to around $24 million today. So quite quickly, everyone was on board, and they start working day and night as fast as they could. You know, maybe a little too fast. Not only are they building from the outside in, there are 2 teams starting from end to end and meeting in the middle. So there are measurements in the Grand that are off by about half a foot. Yeah. All right, boys, ready?
Go.
All right.
You guys should have said that.
Come on, boys.
They don't go. See, they go to.
All right, if y'all take a look to our right, that is our Grand Hotels Golf Pro Shop. It does sell all your golfing needs, whether it be any sort of apparel, accessories, or gear. And I heard they sell their socks in sets of 3 instead of pairs of 2, just in case you get a hole in one. Golf joke. This is the first half of the Grand Hotels Golf Course, the Jewel. We call this 9 the Grand 9 by the Grand. Other half is way back in the woods, and we call it the Woods. It is the only golf course in the world that requires a 25-minute horse-drawn shuttle ride to the other half. Now, I am going to stop the boys behind the trees, so if I cut off anyone's line of sight, I do apologize. We're by the golf course, so if any stray golf balls come our way, they'll be fine. You guys won't, so duck.
Yeah, you're on the edge.
Each of them can easily carry up to 3 times their body weight, but if need be, up to 6. They are very strong. That being said, these two could easily pull about 12,000 pounds together before it even gets the slightest bit difficult for them, which this carriage comes nowhere close to. As they're resting here, my foot's applied to the brake, so the weight of us or the carriage is not resting on them whatsoever. You'll actually never see a skinny horse here on the island. Our horses have access to a 24/7 hay buffet, as well as 3 gallons of oats a day, 1 for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They receive salt and minerals, as well as a salt lick in their stalls. Any additional crude proteins or supplements they might need, we do provide. And us as drivers, we are responsible for our team every day, and we love to give our horses treats. They have huge sweet tooths. They love anything with sugar. Tootsie Rolls, Jolly Ranchers, Mackinac, Twizzlers, peppermints, you name it, they'll probably eat it. They're like giant garbage dishes. Now, interestingly enough, Cusco and Kronk here do not like carrots. Kronk took a bite, or excuse me, Cusco took a bite and spit it out, and Kronk put his nose in the air. He wouldn't even look at it. But they do like apples. And candy, of course. I do try to spoil them. Ooh, easy, boys. This is where all the magic happens. This is our Mackinac Island Carriage Tour stable. This is where I arrive to work and clock in at 6:45 on the dot every single morning. Such a great employee. You guys should totally tell my boss that. Now, as I mentioned, I am responsible for my team every day. So these two had the day off yesterday. So this morning, I gathered them out of our corral, which you can kind of see the back of it to the right over there. I then brushed, bathed, and harnessed them all by myself. At the end of my shift, I will unharness, bathe, and brush these two. I'll then clock out, go home, and bathe and brush myself, because I'll smell like horse at that point. Now these guys really have it good. As I mentioned, they had yesterday off. So they're going to work today, maybe a few hours tomorrow if we need them, and then they're going to get another 24 hours off. And then during our busier summer months when we're open later and doing way more groups and tours, we get 2 teams a day, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon, and we switch those halfway throughout our day. Our taxi does run year-round. We are the only 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week, 365-day-a-year radio dispatch, horse-drawn taxi service in the world. Now, right over there, y'all are going to see our veterinarian's office where it says veterinarian's office. We have 5 rotating vets with at least 2 at any given time. Now, does anyone remember how many people doctors we have? 1. You can see where our priorities lie. We do care about these guys very, very much. So if you get yourself deathly ill or seriously injured outside those medical center hours, you might find yourself here. No worries, you're in good hands. Keep all our taxi horses here. Now, as you see those taxi horses around the island, you're going to notice they're much smaller compared to Cusco and Kronk here. That is because they're one of our bigger draft horses bred with a standard bred horse. Not only are they able to pull heavy amounts of weight, we allow those horses to trot. We never trot our bigger horses like the boys in front of us too often, just because due to their size, it can take a toll on their joints in the long run. That is the very last thing we want for them. But as I mentioned, these horses in this barn are much smaller. They only range anywhere from 12 to 1,600 pounds. Cusco, step up. Now this red wagon here, we offer free rides at the end of the night. We call that our digested hay ride. If anyone's interested, you can guess what we fill that with. Now this barn in the middle, we so creatively named Middle Barn. This houses our horses that are a little bigger than Cusco and Kronk here. They pull in teams of 3 instead of teams of 2. And they pull these big 35-passenger carriages, which is what y'all are going to board for the second half here. These horses typically range anywhere from 1,900 to upwards of 2,400 pounds. And this last barn here, this is Big Barn. This is where Cusco, Kronk, and all of our teams of two live. And they all pull the carriages like the one you're on. These horses typically range anywhere from 1,800 to 2,200 pounds. Good job, boys. Then you'll see our wash rack where our horses get 2 baths a day. A belly down in the morning to make sure they look good for you guys, and a full body at the end of their hard work day. That is Congo, I believe. All right, boys. Oh, wow. All right. Now, when we first roll up here, we're going to stop to take a quick photo. I ask no one tries to exit quite yet. This is just for your safety. We're then going to roll up about 15 feet to some big metal stairs. And everyone's going to exit from our right-hand side. What side are we exiting from, folks? All right. Perfect. I hope you guys enjoyed your tour today. I know I did. You guys were an amazing group compared to my last 3. I really do appreciate it. You guys listened. You laughed at my really bad jokes. If you guys enjoyed your tour today, my name is Jamie. If you did not enjoy your tour today, my name is Tyler.
What's this over here?
They're privately owned condos. And if you guys would like to thank our friends Cusco and Kronk today, they did tell me they do accept tips in the forms of apples, carrots, or cash. However, Kronk here does have a gambling issue. I'll hold on to that for him. He needs to understand that tips are for treats, not nefarious activities. On a real note, ladies and gentlemen, your generosity, it is always appreciated. It is never, ever expected. We're going to stop here to take this quick photo. Again, I ask no one tries to exit quite yet. This is just for your safety.
This is the Butterfly Conservatory. It's called Wings of Mackinac, and we stopped here on our carriage tour. This was a separate admission. Wings of Mackinac Butterfly Garden. We've got some big ones.
Look how big they are.
And when you buy your carriage ride ticket, you can get a combo ticket that includes the Butterfly Conservatory. We got off here by the stables, had 20 minutes here to look around, either to go see the butterflies or go over to the stables. And then for the second half of our trip, we get onto a different kind of carriage and end our tour that way. This carriage is drawn by 3 horses, and it's built lower to the ground. Our first one was just 2 horses, and we had to step up into it.
We go let you tickets and have a wonderful day.
What's really cool about our 3-horse teams compared to our 2-horse is that these guys get a team name. That makes them 10 times cooler, right?
Yeah.
These boys have the best team name on the island. We call them the Lumpies. Lumpies, yeah, I know. It's not as cool of a team name as the Mafia. On the left, we have the horse himself, Lumpy. Everyone say, hey, Lumpies.
Hey, Lumpy.
In the middle is Washington. Everyone say, hey, Washington.
Hey, Washington.
And on the right, we have Ebony. Everyone say, hey, Ebony.
Hey, Ebony.
They say, hey is for horses. I'm sorry, guys. Jokes are the second half of the tour. That means I get to talk about whatever I want. So let's just get this over right now. Everyone look to your left.
Ooh.
And everyone look to your right.
Ah, trees, yeah.
That's about as exciting as it's going to get. The horses. So from there we decided, you know what, we like our horses more. Cars are sad anyways, they'll be gone in a few years. A little later on, someone brought a car into the state park and they were again scaring our horses. But this time they were also causing a lot of destruction. So we decided cars are dangerous. It's just been tradition ever since then to not allow cars on the island, and I don't think that'll be changing anytime soon. Last year, we celebrated 125 years of no cars being allowed on the island. You will also find golf carts on the golf course because the law of no cars does not apply at that point. And there is also a wintertime exception for snowmobiles. Snowmobiles are allowed on the island in winter due to a little loophole. they are technically not on the island. They are on the snow. So on our right here are some of the gorgeous underground condominiums that we have on the island. People are just dying to get in. I'm killing it here, guys. This is St. Anne's Catholic Cemetery, but this isn't the original location. It was originally downtown, just off of Main Street by the Twilight and the Windsor, those two green and white buildings. But we moved everyone up here because tourism was starting to grow, and you don't exactly want a cemetery to be the first thing you see when you get off the boat. Unfortunately, they weren't all that smart. They moved everyone. First they moved all the bodies, and then all of the headstones. As we turn the corner here, across from the Catholic Cemetery, we have the Protestant Cemetery. And apparently, even at death, the Catholics and Protestants still can't get along. But the Protestants do like to argue that their wall is holier. The last cemetery on the island is the Post Cemetery of Fort Mackinac, and here lies all the soldiers who gave the ultimate sacrifice. There are 111 graves, but unfortunately, only 39 of them are known. They were originally labeled with a wooden cross that slowly deteriorated over time, and their names have now been lost to history. This one may be the original, but it's never actually been used. It was built too short. When they built it, they took into account the size of the horses and the size of the herd. What they didn't take into account was the guy driving it. On every other carriage you see, the driver sits inside, but on the hearse, he sits on the roof. Flowers, you get lost along the way. By now, everyone is hot and sweaty and tired. The kids are starting to whine and complain, and you're starting to wonder, is Skull Cave even going to be worth all this trouble, or should we just give up and head home? Just as you're about to give up all hope, you finally see it. Ta-da! Was it worth it? Yeah, I don't think so. Skull Cave used to be a whole lot bigger than that. It used to be big enough to hold these horses and this entire carriage inside. Unfortunately, in the 70s, it became too popular of a hangout spot. It was actually starting to crumble, so the state decided to demolish it. This is when the Native American women took out from under their blankets many weapons and distributed them amongst the men. They killed everyone inside the fort. Only one man survived. His name was Alexander Henry. And he was blood brothers with a Native American named Chief Wawatam. Chief Wawatam knew this upcoming revolt and wanted to save his friend's life, but he warned Alexander and said that he would protect him. Now, like I said, that story is not really true.
Yeah, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
Part of it is true. Skull Cave was a Native American burial ground, except Alexander Henry never hid there. If you read his diary, it says he actually hid inside a wine cellar. I bet he had more fun there. One of two original Revolutionary War era forts still stay in the U.S. today. The fort was built by the British during the war, and they stayed here until the end. That's when we signed a treaty, and since the Americans won, we got control over the fort. Now, we stayed here until 1812. That's when the British decided they wanted their fort back. What took place then was the very first land battle of the War of 1812, and I'm going to go over every detail of that battle with you guys. There will be a test.
Don't expect this to pass.
There was a single shot fired at the back side of the fort, and then it was surrendered.
Short story.
We had no idea there was even a war going on. It was at this point the British decided to build the second fort on the island. We can't quite see it, but it's on top of this hill to our left. There's a large circular wooden fort. They named it Fort George after their king at the time. At the end of the war, we signed another treaty and Americans got control over both forts. We then renamed Fort George Fort Holmes after the young major who died trying to retake the fort. Now this big open area here, it isn't open just so we can look at the back side of the fort. This was the rifle range where the men stationed at the fort to practice their shooting. So the men stationed here were the best sharpshooters in the U.S. military at the time. Because there wasn't much going on here, so they figured rather than sit around and twiddle their thumbs, they would practice. They would use these natural hills and arrays of yardage markers and shot their targets on this hill to our left. Great hill. On the other side, it's pretty steep, it's pretty dangerous. This is where I check and see if my brakes are still working. If something happens, emergency exits are to your left and to your right. I hope you guys don't talk about. There are life jackets located underneath your seats, and oxygen masks will drop down from the ceiling. So Ebony just volunteered to go down first. I'll follow behind, and if it's all okay, you guys will come down after me. But there's actually something very important I have to tell you before we go down. I love you guys.
Same. Yeah.
The other horses on the island, now the total is close to around 600 horses. There are two main draft breeds. Draft breed are the big horses you'll see pulling the carriages. Any horse that is a brown or blonde color, those are called Belgians. And any white, gray, or black, like our boys, are called Percherons. There is one other commonly known draft breed that we don't have here, unfortunately, and those are Clydesdales. We used to have a couple a few years ago, but they didn't work out too well, because in reality, Clydesdales are weak and dumb. Now, they are big and pretty, so that's what all they got going for them. They don't have the same muscle strength as their boys out front. I mean, why do you think it takes 8 of them to pull an empty Budweiser carriage? So those are the lady slippers, and then those pink ones right there, those are the Trilliums. Just to be disappointed when you reach the top and find out it's the same exact view that you had from down here, and all there is a sign on a rock that says some random dude named Nikolay may or may not have stood up there. Turns out he never actually came to the island, so I think you're good. Feel free to leave your stuff on the carriage if you so choose. I'm not going anywhere, so your stuff is safe with me. Do be cautious of any puddles you see back here. It hasn't rained in a couple days. We call those piddles, not puddles. And it's not just water. And lastly, I do ask when you guys are coming back to the carriage, please come back to the same rows that you are currently sitting in right now. That way we avoid any confusion between anyone else and myself, and I know if I'm leaving anyone behind, or if anyone is trying to hitch a ride.
There's the team. One of our stops on the second half of this tour is Arch Rock. We'll be able to get a good view of it from here. And we only have 5-6 minutes here.
They're walking a little faster.
Now they're coming.
Somebody had to be last. I love you guys.
It wasn't me for once.
Alright, let's go for real this time. If I did happen to leave anyone behind and you see them running behind us and waving, be polite and wave back. Oh, it.
Now they're galloping.
We're moving now.
And that was second gear. Affiliated Woodpecker?
Woody Woodpecker.
Woody. Those birds can grow up to 3 feet tall with a 1.5 foot wingspan. Not really, that's a penguin. Affiliated Woodpecker can grow up to a 1.5 foot tall with a 3 foot wingspan. That's still a pretty big bird. Going by on our left. Now, I know it doesn't seem all that special, but that is one of the 7 tamarack trees that we have left on the island. We used to have a whole lot more, but the soldiers who built Fort Mackinac used the tamarack to break up the limestone. They use the tamarack because it has an oil base, so it'll burn a whole lot hotter than any other tree in this forest. They burned it on top of the limestone for days, then dumped really cold water on top. The rampant expansion and contraction of the limestone caused it to crack and break into smaller pieces that the men were able to carry themselves or lift on the carriages to have horses or oxen bring to where the fort is today. Alright guys, on that note, we are unfortunately coming near the end of our tour. I do have a couple different options for you from here though. The first one is to get off at Fort Mackinac and check that out, which I highly recommend that you do. Tickets for the fort are $16.25 for an adult and around half that for children. It'll get you to the fort all day. When you're all done for the fort, you can go to the other side and walk down the hill that way. It's only a couple minute walk to that town. If you don't want to check out the fort, stick with me for a little bit longer. I will let you off at the governor's summer residence for a short 5-minute walk into downtown or 3-minute roll. It is all downhill. Well, it is a steep downhill, so if you have any trouble walking, I would not recommend it, but it is the closest I can personally get you to downtown, so it will be your first option. The other option can add about a half hour to 40 minutes to your tour. If you would like to go to the Grand, I can let you off for a 5-minute walk to the Grand Hotel. It has a little bit of uphill, but is again mostly downhill. Keep in mind it is a $12 fee to get inside the Grand if you're not staying there. Lastly, if you don't feel like walking anywhere, I can bring you all the way back up to Surrey Hill with me, which is where you first got onto my carriage. From there, you'll get off of mine and go onto a 2-horse carriage. The same ones that brought you up the hill are now going to bring you back down. They will drop you off either downtown or at the Grand Hotel. Like I mentioned, that is the option that can add a half hour to 40 minutes to your tour. And hand your wallet to me. Again, thanks for spending some time with me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the tour.
7. We got off our carriage ride at Fort Mackinac, and we're going to take a tour. It's open till 7 p.m. There is an admission fee. The hours are 9:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. So we're going to go take a look around.